Have you ever paused for a moment and realized that the version of yourself you are today is not the only version that exists? That there are multiple possible versions of you waiting, already alive in different states of consciousness, and the only thing standing between who you are right now and who you deeply know you're meant to be is alignment? That's what we're diving into today. Because this video is about meeting your new self, not once in a fleeting meditation, not once in a journal entry, not once in a moment of inspiration that slips away, but meeting your new self consistently, living as them, becoming them so fully that your outside world, your 3D circumstances, no longer have the power to shake you from your 5D identity. Now let's talk about this. Because so many people are trapped in this pattern. They have a breakthrough moment. They feel their higher self. They step into that abundance, that expanded consciousness. Maybe they meditate and connect to their quantum self. Maybe they go to a retreat or read a book and it opens their awareness. For a few moments, maybe even a day, they feel that they are infinite. But then, what happens? Life happens. The bills, the responsibilities, the drama, the triggers, the relationships, the old habits. And suddenly that new self feels far away, like a dream you almost remembered but can't quite hold on to. So the question is, how do we not just find that self, but actually become that self on a daily basis? How do we stop letting the outside 3D world, with its noise and distractions, pull us away from the higher frequency version of us that already exists? That's what I want to guide you through today. Because I know something about you. If you're watching this, if you're listening to these words, you're not here to play small. You're not here to live in circles, repeating the same patterns, the same beliefs, the same limitations. You're here because some part of you knows that you are much more, that you came here to embody your next level, your quantum self. Now here's the truth. Your new self, your quantum self, already exists. This isn't about creating them in the sense of forcing something into existence. This is about tuning into them, like tuning a radio. You don't make the frequency, you align with it. And the biggest block to that alignment is letting the 3D world, the stage you're standing on right now, convince you that it's more real than what you know inside. Let me give you a story. There's a classic study in psychology about the power of mental rehearsal. Athletes were asked to mentally practice shooting free throws in basketball without actually touching a basketball. Another group actually practiced shooting the free throws physically, and a third group did nothing. At the end of the study, the group that only practiced in their mind improved almost as much as the group that practiced in real life. Almost the same level of improvement. Think about that. The brain does not fully distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is physically experienced. So if that's true, then every time you align with your new self in your imagination, in your meditation, in your inner state, you are wiring your brain and body to become that self. That's quantum thinking. That's stepping beyond the 3D stage and embodying your 5D reality. But here's the kicker. It only works if you stop snapping back into your old self every time your current circumstances don't match. If you meditate in the morning and feel abundant, but then the moment you check your bank account, you collapse into scarcity, you've let the 3D world drag you back. If you visualize your new self as confident and magnetic, but then at work, someone says something and you shrink, you've allowed the stage to dictate who you are. Your job, and this is the core of today's journey, is to live from your new self regardless of what the stage shows you. You are not the actor trapped by the stage. You are the consciousness directing the play. And once you get that, once you claim that, you become unstoppable. Now let me ask you something. How many times have you tried to change your life by changing things on the outside first? You try to fix your finances by hustling harder. You try to fix your relationships by controlling the other person. You try to fix your health by punishing your body. And sometimes you get short-term results, but it doesn't last. Why? Because the identity didn't shift. The self didn't shift. Quantum thinking flips that script. You don't wait for the outside to confirm who you are. You decide who you are. You embody that identity, and the outside must eventually reorganize to reflect it. Now, this isn't just spiritual fluff. Psychology backs this up. There's a concept called self-identity congruence. It means that humans will always act in ways that align with their self-identity, even if it contradicts their goals. If you identify as someone who struggles, you'll sabotage abundance. If you identify as someone who isn't good enough, you'll unconsciously repel opportunities. But the moment you shift that self-identity, the moment you claim, I am abundant, I am magnetic, I am this higher self, your behaviors, your perceptions, your emotions begin to align with that. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine you're wearing VR goggles. Inside the VR, you see a storm, chaos, lightning, destruction. It feels real. You panic, you run, but outside the VR headset, someone watching you knows the room is perfectly calm. The 3D world is the headset. It's convincing, it feels real, but it's not the ultimate reality. Your 5D self is the one outside the headset, calm, expansive, watching. Every time you identify more with the VR than with the observer, you get trapped. But every time you remember, wait, I am the one wearing the headset, not the headset itself, you shift. Now, some people ask me, but how do I actually live as my new self when my circumstances scream otherwise? That's the work. That's the practice. And it starts with small daily commitments. When you wake up, instead of asking, what does my 3D life require of me today? Ask, how would my 5D self begin this day? Would they rush to their phone, or would they breathe and align first? Would they eat junk food because it's convenient, or would they nourish their body because they are the embodiment of coherence? Would they react with frustration to the traffic, or would they use that moment to practice presence? It's these micro decisions, stacked over time, that solidify the new self. Identity is not built in grand declarations. It's built in the small, repeated acts of coherence. And I'll tell you something. The 3D stage will test you. It's designed to, because every time you declare a new identity, life gives you opportunities to prove it. You say, I am abundant, and then an unexpected bill comes. Will you collapse into fear, or will you respond as abundance itself? You say, I am love, and then someone criticizes you. Will you react defensively, or will you hold your frequency? These are not punishments. They are invitations. Invitations to practice coherence with your new self. And let me drop a truth that may sting. If you're waiting for your circumstances to change before you fully become your new self, you will wait forever, because circumstances are an echo of the old self. They are lag time. They are delayed reflections. The only way to break the loop is to become the new self now, even when the evidence hasn't caught up. This is why quantum thinkers live differently. They don't look to the world for permission to become. They understand that consciousness precedes form. They understand that the self comes first and the world rearranges after. And I want to make this super practical for you. So here's an exercise you can do right after this video. Write down, in the present tense, a page describing your new self. Not what they will be, but what they are, how they think, how they move, how they respond. Then choose one action each day that reinforces that identity. One action that says, this is who I am now. For example, if your new self is confident, then every day do one thing that slightly stretches your confidence. Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting. Maybe it's posting your truth online. If your new self is abundant, every day practice generosity in some way. Tip a little more. Give a compliment. Share your energy. If your new self is peaceful, everyday practice slowing down your breath in moments of stress. These are anchors, and the more anchors you plant, the more the identity becomes embodied. So let's go deeper into this process of becoming your new self, because I know for many of you, the struggle isn't in knowing what you want. The struggle is in actually holding that frequency consistently. And I want you to understand that the pull of the old self is not a sign you're failing. It's a sign that your nervous system is simply more familiar with the old identity. Your body has been trained, like a well-worn path in the forest, to default to old emotional states, old thought patterns, old reactions. And when you step into a new self, it feels unfamiliar. Your mind even tells you, this isn't real. Go back to what you know. But here's the truth. Unfamiliar doesn't mean unsafe. Unfamiliar just means new. Think about when you first learned to drive. At the beginning, it felt awkward, overwhelming. You were hyper aware of every movement, worried about every little thing. But over time, as you practiced, it became natural, automatic, embodied. That's exactly how stepping into your new self works. At first, it takes conscious effort. It feels strange, but with repetition, your nervous system rewires and it becomes who you are. And this is where neuroscience meets quantum living. There's a term called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on experience. Every thought you repeat strengthens a neural pathway. Every emotion you consistently embody wires into your body as a new baseline. So when you think and feel from your new self consistently, you're literally reprogramming your brain and body to match that identity. Let's ground this with the metaphor. Imagine your brain is like a field of grass. Each time you think a thought, you're walking across that field in a certain direction. If you keep walking the same path, it becomes worn, easy to follow, almost automatic. That's your old self. But when you choose new thoughts, new feelings, you're carving out a fresh path in the grass. At first, it's harder. The grass is tall. You have to push through. But the more you walk it, the clearer it becomes. And the old path, the one you stop using, begins to grow over. This is the science of identity. Now, here's where most people trip up. They walk the new path for a day or two, maybe even a week. But when life throws a challenge, they go back to the old path because it feels easier. That's why commitment matters. Not commitment to perfection, but commitment to returning. Every time you notice yourself slipping back into the old self, simply notice, breathe, and return to the new self. Over time, that return becomes faster. Eventually, the old self has less and less pull. And I want you to really hear this. You are not trying to kill the old self. You're simply outgrowing it. Just like a snake sheds its skin, you don't need to fight the old layer. It naturally falls away when you embody the new one. Now let's talk about resistance. Because when you commit to becoming your new self, resistance will arise. The 3D stage will throw you tests, your ego will fight back, your mind will try to convince you that this is too much work. And that's normal. That's part of the process. Think of resistance like the soreness you feel after a workout. It's not a sign you're failing, it's a sign you're growing. Psychology has a concept called cognitive dissonance. This happens when your actions don't match your beliefs or identity, and it creates tension. When you first embody your new self, your old beliefs clash with your new actions. That's dissonance. But if you keep choosing the new actions, eventually your beliefs catch up. You begin to truly believe you are that new self because you've acted it out enough times. This is why affirmations alone often don't work. If you tell yourself, I am abundant, but your actions all day scream scarcity, your subconscious doesn't buy it. But when your actions, no matter how small, line up with the affirmation, the belief starts to lock in. Let me share another example. A study was done on people trying to quit smoking. Two groups were asked the same question, do you want a cigarette? One group was told to respond with no, I'm trying to quit. The other group was told to respond with no, I don't smoke. Guess which group had higher success rates? The I don't smoke group. Why? Because one response framed it as an action they were attempting. The other response framed it as an identity they had already become. Identity is powerful, and when you claim it, even before the evidence shows up, you're training your brain and body to match it. That's the essence of quantum thinking. Living from the identity before the evidence, so that the evidence eventually has no choice but to align. Now let's weave in the dimension aspect, because I know some of you are wondering about this 3D and 5D conversation. The 3D self is tied to matter, to time, to the physical stage. It measures progress by what it can see and touch. The 5D self operates from energy, from frequency, from alignment. It measures progress by coherence, by inner state, by expansion. When you live as your 5D self, you stop asking, when will it happen? And start asking, how can I align right now? Because alignment is the evidence. Think of it like this. The 3D is a mirror. If you smile, eventually the mirror reflects it. But if you frown at the mirror, waiting for it to smile first, you'll be waiting forever. Your 5D self knows to smile first, to hold the frequency first, and the mirror will follow. Now, I want to address a common block: impatience. So many people say, I've been embodying my new self for a week or a month. Why hasn't everything changed yet? And I get it. We live in a culture of instant gratification. But quantum living is not about rushing the outcome, it's about enjoying the embodiment. The shift is not something you wait for, it's something you are. Imagine planting a seed. On day 1, you water it. On day 2, nothing is visible. Day 3, still nothing. If you judge by appearance, you'd think nothing is happening. But underground, roots are forming, systems are developing. And if you quit watering too soon, you kill the process. But if you trust, if you keep showing up, eventually the sprout appears. The same is true with your new self. So let's make this practical again. Every morning ask yourself, if my 5D self was living my life today, what's one choice they would make differently than my 3D self? And then do that. Just one. Stack that choice daily, and you'll be amazed how fast the shift compounds. Let's go even deeper into embodiment practices, because I want you to leave this with real tools. One of the most powerful ways to anchor your new self is through state conditioning. Here's how it works. Step 1. Choose a memory or create a visualization that evokes the emotional state of your new self. Maybe it's a time you felt powerful, free, abundant, or deeply at peace. Step 2. As you feel it, anchor it to a physical cue. Press your fingers together, place your hand on your heart, breathe in a certain rhythm. Step 3. Repeat this consistently. Over time, that cue becomes wired into your nervous system so that any time you use it, the state activates. This is straight from behavioral psychology, but when combined with quantum alignment, it becomes a superpower. Because here's the thing. The more often you feel the emotions of your new self, the faster your body normalizes them as its baseline. And once your body believes it's that new self, your external reality has no choice but to catch up. Now let's move into one of the most important aspects of this journey, integration. Because it's one thing to glimpse your new self in meditation, it's another to live as them while you're paying bills, handling stress, raising kids, or navigating relationships. That's where real mastery shows up. Integration means that your spiritual awareness doesn't stay in a journal or a quiet room. It enters the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you respond to challenges. And integration is what makes your new self unshakable. Think of it like learning a new language. At first, you study flashcards, you practice words, you translate in your head. But eventually something clicks. You start dreaming in that language, thinking in that language, speaking without effort. Integration with your new self works the same way. At first, you consciously redirect your thoughts and actions, but over time, it becomes your automatic way of being. And here's something profound. When you fully integrate, you stop performing for the world. You no longer act abundant only when things look good. You no longer act peaceful only when it's convenient. You become abundance itself. You become peace itself. It radiates from you, not because of circumstances, but because it's who you are. Now, the 3D world will still try to test you, and people will sometimes react strangely when you shift. Why? Because your frequency disrupts their patterns. If you used to complain with them, and now you choose gratitude, it unsettles them. If you used to settle for less, and now you stand in your worth, it challenges them. But that's not your problem to fix. That's simply a sign you are embodying something real. And this is where boundaries come in. Part of becoming your new self is learning to say no to the invitations that belong to the old self. Old habits, old conversations, old environments. You don't need to judge them. You just don't feed them. Because every time you choose to reinforce your old self, you delay your new one. Let's go deeper into the science again, because I want you to see that this isn't just mystical talk. Epigenetics is a field of biology that shows how our environment, thoughts, and emotions can literally switch genes on and off. Dr. Bruce Lipton and many others have demonstrated that your biology responds to your perception more than to external reality. That means when you embody joy, gratitude, love, coherence, your cells are receiving instructions aligned with health and expansion. When you embody fear, stress, scarcity, your cells are receiving instructions aligned with contraction and disease. This is why becoming your new self isn't just a mindset hack. It's a full body transformation. Your physiology, your chemistry, your energy field, all of it shifts. Now, let's look at the psychological side again. There's a principle in cognitive psychology called the confirmation bias. It means the brain selectively notices and interprets information that confirms what it already believes. If you believe you're unlucky, you'll notice every setback as proof. If you believe you're magnetic, you'll notice every glance, every opportunity as evidence of your power. So when you shift identity, you're not just changing how you feel inside, you're literally changing what your brain pays attention to in the outside world. That's why some people seem to suddenly get lucky when they shift their self-concept. It's not luck, it's alignment plus awareness. They were blind to opportunities before. Now they can see them. So let me challenge you right now. For the next 7 days, live as if you are already your 5D self. Every morning, step into them. Throughout the day, when challenges arise, ask, how would my new self respond here? Do this for 7 days consistently, and you'll notice something radical. Not only does your inner state stabilize, but your external world begins to reflect the shift. Now, I want to address the difference between visualization and embodiment. Visualization is powerful, but it's only the beginning. Embodiment means you don't just see it in your mind, you feel it in your body. You don't just imagine abundance, you walk like abundance, breathe like abundance, speak like abundance. You don't just think about peace, you let your shoulders relax, your breath slow, your heart expand. Embodiment is what makes it real. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine 2 actors auditioning for the role of a king. One memorizes the lines and reads them. The other becomes the king, the posture, the tone, the energy. Who gets the role? The one who embodies it. Life is the same. You don't get the reality you recite, you get the reality you embody. And here's the beauty. Your nervous system doesn't argue with embodiment. When you consistently act, breathe, and feel as your new self, your body accepts it as truth. And once your body accepts it, reality bends around it. Let's take a moment to zoom out. Think of your life as a movie. Most people believe they're the character on screen, reacting to the script, but you're not the character. You're the writer. You're the director. You're the one deciding which version of the character shows up. And every time you choose to embody your new self, you're rewriting the script. Now let's talk about consistency, because that's the heart of this video. The reason most people don't live as their new self consistently is because they let their emotions be dictated by circumstances. But your 5D self flips that. Your emotions become the cause, not the effect. You decide to feel abundant, then the evidence appears. You decide to feel loved, then the relationships align. You decide to feel free, then opportunities open. This requires discipline, but not the kind of discipline most people think. It's not about forcing yourself. It's about devotion. Devotion to your frequency. Devotion to your truth. Devotion to coherence. And coherence is a powerful word here. Coherence means your heart, your mind, your body, your energy are aligned, not pulling in different directions, not saying one thing but feeling another. True coherence is when your identity, your beliefs, your actions, and your emotions all point in the same direction. That's when reality shifts fastest. So how do you cultivate coherence? Daily practices, meditation to quiet the noise, breath work to regulate your state, gratitude to shift your perception, journaling to anchor your identity, movement to embody energy. These aren't random wellness trends. They are tools to bring your system into coherence with your new self. Now let's move toward closing this journey, because I want you to walk away not just inspired, but empowered. Remember this, your new self is not in the future. They are available right now. The only distance between you and them is alignment. Every time you choose their thoughts, their feelings, their actions, you collapse that distance. So let me ask you directly, who are you choosing to be right now? Are you choosing the self who waits for circumstances to change? Or are you choosing the self who leads with frequency? Are you choosing the self who reacts to the stage or the self who directs the play? The moment you claim it, the moment you embody it, reality starts shifting. Not always instantly, not always in the way your 3D mind expects, but inevitably, because the universe responds to coherence. And before we close, let me remind you of something powerful. The very fact that you're here, listening to this, means your new self is already calling you. You wouldn't even resonate with these words if some part of you wasn't already living in that frequency. So trust that. Trust that you're not starting from scratch. You're remembering who you already are. So here's your call to action, your declaration. Right now, in the comments, I want you to write one word or a short sentence that anchors your new self. Maybe it's coherence. Maybe it's abundance. Maybe it's I am aligned. Whatever it is, declare it. And subscribe to this channel to stay in the frequency, to remind yourself daily who you are becoming. Because when we declare together, we amplify the field. You are not here to live small. You are not here to be trapped by the 3D stage. You are here to embody your 5D self, to live in coherence, to radiate abundance, and to inspire others simply by being. And from this moment on, that is who you are.